we will call the October 6, 2025 Cass County Commission meeting to order. And the next item will be roll call of the members.
Commissioner Grinberg.
Here.
Commissioner Breitling. Here. Commissioner Capitan.
Here.
Commissioner Vettel.
Here.
Commissioner Flacco.
Commissioner Vettel, would you like to introduce your guest?
Certainly. Brian is a senior business development partner at Sanford Health. He has been a member of the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber of Commerce Military Affairs Committee since 2011 and served as the committee chair from 2015 to 2023. He also holds the position of Honorary Brigade Commander of the 141 Maneuver Enhancement Bridge of North Dakota's National Guard, advocating for missions and soldiers on the local, regional, and national levels. He also spent nearly 2 decades in television sportscasting in our region. He currently serves on the board of directors for Homewood Animal Shelter, the Fargo Vocational Training Center, the FM Ballet, and Fargo Lions Club. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Mr. Brian Shawn.
With our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Look for a motion to approve the order of the agenda or any additions to the agenda first. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move Flacco.
Second?
Second.
Discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, we'll take the roll call vote.
Commissioner Capitan.
Aye.
Commissioner Breitling. Yes. Commissioner Grinberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Vettel.
Aye.
Commissioner Flacco.
Aye.
And we'll back up and I'll entertain a motion on the minutes from the previous meeting. I apologize for missing that on the front end.
So move.
Second? Moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Going to the regular agenda, excited to hear from Dwayne DeCray, who will present an update on the Red River Valley Water Supply Project. I believe, Commissioners, you do have the presentation in your materials, which should also be showing up and has shown up on the screen. Mr. DeCray.
Well, good afternoon, and thanks for the invite. Am I standing in the right place here?
You are.
Okay, good enough. So the Red River Valley Water Project, I want to start by saying the bookends of it are 2075 population and water needs. So that was the planning horizon for the whole project. I'm sure you two guys know that already, but for the rest of the
Not as well as you.
Next slide. So the Red River Valley Water Supply is a twofold project. It's a long-term emergency water supply and an economic development initiative. Next slide. So the project benefits are it'll supplement inadequate surface water supplies during drought. During the 30s, which is one of the other bookends of this drought, a 30-style drought with 2570 population. The Red River, which Fargo gets its water from, had zero flow for 5 months. And so it will supplement that water supply. It supplements groundwater supply. You're going to see a slide here pretty shortly that shows you where the state's at in groundwater. It provides additional industrial waters to the state. North Dakota being one of the most agricultural states in the nation, and we add value to very little of our crop. Right around in the Fargo area here, we are doing a pretty good job of that, but the rest of the state has not been able to do that. Agricultural has a tendency to use a lot of water in processing, and North Dakota just hasn't had that water, so we haven't done a lot of ag processing. And then it mitigates the fluctuation in water availability. If you've lived in North Dakota more than about 5 minutes, you know we're either in a wash in water or we haven't got any water, and we're very seldom on an even keel. And then it provides economic benefits wherever you have water, you always have economic opportunity. Next slide. So this is what the project looks like right now. It'll be a 125-mile pipe. It's a 6-foot pipe. It is spiral welded steel, concrete lined, and then it has an epoxy coating on the outside. At maximum flow, it'll produce 165 cubic feet per second. It's buried with a minimum of 7 feet of dirt over the top of it. As you can see by the map, the water comes out of the McCluskey Canal, and then it's transported to the Cheyenne River. And if you know North Dakota's geography, you know that the Cheyenne River eventually hooks up with the Red River and flows north. And so Fargo and Grand Forks, which are the two biggest users of the project when it's completed, will be in what is projected now to be 2032. And the total cost of the project in 2024 dollars is $1.26 billion. Next slide. So this is, North Dakota has regional water systems, and the eastern and the central part of the state are the last part of the state to get their regional water system. Southwest Pipeline continues to build out. The Western Area Water Supply is actually privately owned. Southwest is a state project. Northwest Area Water Supply within this year or next year is scheduled to get Missouri River water. If you'll remember, that was tied up in court for 16 years as Canada sued us, and we finally won that lawsuit. And so as soon as the pumping plant, Snake Creek pumping plant right on the Lake Sakakawea is retrofitted, they will be sending water up to the Minot area. And then, of course, the Red River Valley Water Supply, what we're talking about today, the last regional project, it has the potential to serve nearly 50% of the population of North Dakota. And as I already mentioned, we're hoping for a 2032 completion. Next slide. So the project is a partnership between Garrison Diversion, which has been working on this project for about 50 years, and we're finally glad to see we're getting some pipe in the ground. Lake Agassiz Water Authority was formed by the 2005 legislature to represent the users. And then, of course, the state of North Dakota is financing it to 75%. The users are picking up the other 25%, so the state is heavily involved. And then, of course, the federal government, we were able to get a record of decision finally. And so the federal government has come on board. We are hoping to get federal funds. Senator Hoeven is working diligently right now on that. And we were hoping when they did reconciliation that we would able to do that, but you have to have no no's, and Iowa and Missouri said no, and so it couldn't be done during reconciliation. So we had high hopes then, but it didn't come to fruition. Senator Hoeven is pretty well placed. He's on the Appropriations Committee, and so we continue to be hopeful to get some federal funds, which will really help the state and the users to bring down the cost of an expensive project. Next slide. So we'll talk about the project need. So this is a map of North Dakota's groundwater. And if you will notice, North Dakota's groundwater is pretty much all appropriated out. And so there really isn't much groundwater available in the state of North Dakota. If you look at the green, some people think it's yellow, but that is water that's deeper and it tends to be salty. And so it really hasn't had much potential to be used for economic development. And so the blue is where we have some opportunity, and of course that is the Missouri River. And then this project will move that Missouri River to the central and eastern part of the state. Next slide. So this is just a graphic that shows the importance of the Missouri River to North Dakota. This is proportional. Missouri River is like 95% of the surface water in North Dakota. All those others, the Souris, the Red, the Cheyenne, the James, they will all be dry in a 30-style drought. So really the only available surface water in North Dakota in an emergency style drought or just for economic development and a true supply is the Missouri River. You know, right now, of course, Devil's Lake is still pretty high and they're pumping water out of it. But as the water level of Devil's Lake goes down and the climate changes, we know that that's not going to be available. Climatologists are telling statistically that North Dakota is ready for another 30-style drought in about 2050. And that's why we're trying to push so hard to get this project done. Of course, that's statistics. That doesn't mean it's going to happen in 2050. It could start tomorrow or it could go longer than that. But that's statistically when we're ready for another 30-style drought. Next slide. So the Missouri River, which I already mentioned, is 95% of North Dakota's current surface water. And we get a lot of these questions in Bismarck a lot of time because they don't want us taking water out of the Missouri River because they fear that it will ruin their recreation area. And in fact, it uses 0.5% of the Missouri River when it's in full flow. So that leaves 99.5% of the Missouri River at Bismarck untouched. If we were to set a 5-gallon pail on the table and then set a thimble beside it, that thimble would be the amount of water that's actually coming out of the Missouri River compared to that 5-gallon pail. Next slide. So to get our permit on the Missouri River, we had to model for the Corps of Engineers. And so after we got done modeling and we plugged in all our statistics for 30-style drought, 25 population, what we found out is that if this project was done and was in place, it would have been used every decade since the 50s. And that's because North Dakota swings wildly, and there would have been droughty periods in every one of those decades where the project would have been used. That's just a picture of the Red River in 2021, which was the only droughty year actually that we've had since about 93. If you'll remember, Devil's Lake just about went dry in 93, and then 95 they were trying to get rid of water. So that's how quickly things can change in the state of North Dakota. Next slide. So this is our construction progress. This is kind of a busy slide. The yellow is contracts that are underway. The green are contracts that are finished. And on the side there, we have 35 miles of pipeline under contract or completed. You'll remember it's a 125-mile pipe. The yellow in the center there shows where we're working or what has been completed. We have 26.3 miles in the ground as of September 27th, and we have over 58 miles shovel ready. That's important. Should the federal government come up with some funds, we are under the gun to prove to them that we could spend the money, spend it fast, and get it in the ground. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. Next slide. This just shows each contractor where they're at in their contract. Karstensen, which is east of Carrington right now, they've got 9 miles of a 10-mile contract in. Garney, which was a contract that was let in 21, was supposed to be done in 23, and they just finished up this summer, has 9 miles in the ground. Contract 5C of Oscar Renda, that's east of Carrington, about 10 miles or so, and they've got 5.8 miles of an 8-mile contract in. They were supposed to have all their pipe in the ground this fall. They are not going to make that. They have had some really tough conditions. We've had a lot of rain this year. They've been working in some low ground, and so there's some reasons they're behind. And then 6A was just issued this spring, that contract, and so they've got almost 2 miles in of a 7-mile contract. They're actually moving pretty good. One of the interesting things we're doing right now is we are boring underneath the James River, and that's turning into quite a project. We had some cave-ins because we're trying to bore with water on top, and so we actually had to divert the James River so that we'd have dry ground above the tunnel boring machine. And now we're going from east to west. We're to the west bank now, and so we'll be able to let the river go back to its natural flow. And depending on how many rocks there are in the tunnel shaft, we will either open cut now or we'll be able to finish that tunnel. Next slide. This is just a construction photo of 5B that was right by Carrington. We have to strip off the topsoil, and we have to separate the topsoil from the subsoil from the other soil. We hired a soil contractor, and I think we're the only project that's done this in North Dakota, but we hired a soil contractor who comes in and trains the construction crews to make sure we keep the topsoil and the subsoil and the other soil separate, because we know these landowners that are getting this pipe, the most valuable asset they have is that topsoil. And so we are very particular about getting the ground restored properly and as best condition that it can be after we leave. We have had some crops growing on some restored soil, and really does look good. We thought it'd take about 3 years to get up to production, and some of that's been up to production after the first year. Just to be safe for the farmers, we have a crop loss policy that has no end. So if by some chance 50 years from now they can still prove crop loss, they're still going to get paid. So we're trying to hold the farmers as harmless as we can. Every so often, up to civil engineering standards, you have to have an above ground appurtenance, water release valves and inspection places and things like that. And we are doing our best to put those on sections and quarter lines so that we cause as little heartache as we possibly can to the landowners. Next slide. So this is just some construction pictures. As you can imagine, a 50-foot pipe, you have to have a pretty good sized construction box for safety of the workers. And most of the soils in North Dakota are alkaline, so they would eat steel if you put the regular soil right back on them. So we have to have them encased in specific aggregate to keep the alkaline soils away from the pipe. So it's a big process. You got to haul the dirt out where the pipe goes, and then you got to haul the aggregate in that you're going to encase in the pipe. And so that's just a picture of them working there, getting the pipe in the ground and putting the aggregate in. The picture on the right is a jacking shaft for when you tunnel. So far we have had to tunnel underneath Highway 281 and the Red River Valley and Western Railroad track. This is a picture of actually where we're tunneling right now under the James River. And also this fall we have another tunnel that we're going to do our best to get completed this fall. It's a 30-inch high pressure gas line that we have to go under, and that would be next as soon as we get done with the James River here. Next picture, slide. So this is just more construction pictures. This is a different contractor, Karstensen. There you can see their box and their backhoes, quite a few of those in construction equipment. There's inspectors on the site at all times that they're working. You have to make sure that after you get the pipe in, you get it in the right place, and you also have to make sure when you cover it up that you don't squash it. And so we do a lot of deflection testing. Every mile or foot of that pipe has to be walked after it's put in place. It has to be welded on the inside. The welds have to be grouted with concrete, and then it's walked and inspected to make sure there's no cracks in the concrete or any other flaws. So it's a big process. Next slide. Just more contractor pictures, just an aerial view. This is topsoil stripping on the left, and then the way the pipes, it takes, the pipe right now is coming from Texas and West Virginia. And so the blue pipe is coming out of West Virginia, and or I got that backwards. The blue pipe is coming out of Texas, and the sand colored pipe, which you haven't seen, is coming out of West Virginia. It's 50-foot length, so there's one pipe per truck. So if you can figure out how many trucks that's going to take at 50 miles for a 125-mile pipe. And actually, Oscar Renda, the other contractor that's using the sand color pipe, they actually want a 25-foot pipe because they didn't want to use a great big heavy trench box. They had another method that they were using, which they thought was quicker, so they'll have twice the number of welds. So if you're out there, you see we got 50-foot pipe and 25-foot pipe, but that's the contractor's choice. Next slide. So this is just more pipe in the ground, and then there's a manhole entrance there on the right, and a smaller trench boxes are putting pipe in the ground, and they keep moving on you got to get the pipe in right, and then there's a epoxy seal that goes all the way around the pipe. It's actually just big heat shrink, and so you have to get under that pipe and get that heat shrink right all the way around on the top, and then you've got to get the aggregate up against the pipe. So it's technical, and it's a lot of people working on it. Next slide. So one of the other things that we had to do for this project is this pipe goes over the Continental Divide. And for you, those of you that have been around a while, you'll remember that what derailed the original Garrison Diversion Project, which would have dumped water into the headwaters of the Cheyenne out of the McCluskey Canal, then it would have flowed naturally. What derailed that was Canada, because they didn't want any biota in the Missouri River Basin getting into the Hudson River Basin. So for this project to get built, we have to treat it. And so right now, what you're looking at on the right and the left there is the mini treatment plant that we have set up, where it's called a pilot plant. And so we're running water through that, and we're using chlorine to disinfect it, and then also light, UV light, which will kill organisms. So on the right there, you see the big pipes under the floor. That's simulating contact time to the chlorine. You can see kind of a shiny silver canister on those two pipes in the center of the picture. That's the UV light. And then we take tests every hour of the water so that we can help us in designing the treatment plant. So this is at the headwaters of the canal. We ran this 6 weeks at the headwaters of the canal, and now we have moved it to where the water treatment plant is going to be, and we'll run it 6 weeks there, and I think we just moved it, so it's probably another 6 weeks. And then we test it hourly, and so between the two test pilots, the same equipment, but in two different places, we will be able to fine-tune the treatment so that we won't have any trouble with Canada once we send the water over the divide. Next slide. This is just some more pictures of the pilot plant. They always called the Missouri River the Muddy Mole. And once you start trying to treat it, you find out it is the Muddy Mole. There's a lot of grit in that river. And so we run that river, and that red box on the right there is where we are catching all the grit, and it fills up pretty quick. Next slide. So the completed construction, and this is kind of the complicated part. So in North Dakota, we tried to get a record of decision from the federal government many years ago, and we could never get that record of decision. You don't have a federal project, you can't get any federal money if you don't get a record of decision. So we designed the project to go all the way to the Missouri River and take water out of the Missouri and then pump it to the rest of the pipe, which would have added another 20, 30 miles of pipe, and it would have added about 400 feet of lift, so it would have been a lot more expensive. So we built the intake on the Missouri, and we put a mile of pipe in at Carrington, and then we built the outfall south of Cooperstown. And that proved to the federal government that we were serious about this project and that we were going to build it. So then we went back to Washington, D.C. First, we hired a consultant by the name of David Bernhardt to put the legal work together so that we could go to D.C. and get this done legally. And so he put this plan together. We went to D.C. We finally got our record of decision so we could use the canal, which saves us about $300 million in construction costs. Even though we spent $20 million putting this intake that isn't used right now, we're still saving $280 million. So we still think that's a good deal. Plus that's there for the state now. If they have any economic development along the Missouri River, they could use that. Or the other thing the legislature could do is they could designate that as a backup to the canal, because the canal is a federal facility And if the federal government, for some reason along the line, decided that they didn't want us taking water out of the canal, we would still have this intake and we could build that 20 miles of pipe and we could still use the project. So that's kind of a safety net, and it did save us a lot of money in construction if we don't need it. Next slide. This is the discharge structure south of Cooperstown, about 6 miles. When the water comes out of there, it was built above the high ordinary water mark, so the water will flow naturally into the Cheyenne River, which you can see in the top left of the picture there. That keeps us out of federal jurisdiction. I should have mentioned that David Bernhardt, the attorney that put our legal plan together, you should recognize that name because he became the Secretary of Interior after he did that for us. And so sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, but we were able to get our record of decision. Next slide. That on the left is the very first pipe we put in the ground. We had a bunch of legislators out there, as you can see in the middle picture, and we watched the first pipe go in the ground in 2021. And after all the fanfare, Lieutenant Governor was there, they had to pull the pipe out and turn it around because they stuck it in backwards. So that's construction. So, and then there's that machine right there is what they use to drill wells with, that they use to pump water out of the ground. We've had a lot of water problems in construction because we have such a high water table right around the Carrington area, and so we're constantly pumping water trying to keep the trench dry, and that's just the machine that they drill those wells with. Next slide. So this is the user update. I know it's pretty tough to read that, but this is who all has signed up for the project. And the legislature told us back in 20 or whatever it was to go out to every rural system, every municipal system between the Red River and the Missouri River and ask them if they were interested in signing up for the project. And it wasn't a freebie. If you go and ask somebody if they want water and it doesn't cost them anything, of course they're going to raise their hand and say they want water. So they had to put 10% of the cost in of the development phase. And so all these people up there have put money into the project. There's 4 counties. And so I mentioned earlier that the maximum flow of the pipe was 165 cubic feet per second. We've had some nominations move around, but we are at 163.19 CFS right now. So we consider that pretty much fully appropriated. Next slide. So this biennium from the legislature, we were appropriated $205 million. So like I mentioned before, 75-25 match. The locals have to come up with 68.33 million, and that will install 24 miles of pipeline. It'll build the Biota water treatment plant access road and site work, and it'll complete the design of the water treatment plant and facility power. We're getting very, very close to having the pipeline itself completely engineered. Next slide. And that's what I have, unless you have some questions, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you, Commissioners. This was meant for educational in time for questions. This is an important project for the Valley, and thought it would be good timing to have you come in and present an overview. And questions?
Anytime. We'll come and talk to you if you want us to.
Commissioner Breitling, you're a water expert.
I've attended some of their meetings. A lot of this was negative.
Making progress.
Good.
My last 2 years in the legislature, I chaired the Water Topics Committee.
Yeah,
and
both you guys were really instrumental in getting this project in place, and I just feel so blessed to be the guy sitting in the manager's chair when all this is happening and we're actually doing the project. Because there was a long string of guys before me that had this same goal that, retired out, and some of them were, water professionals on the Wall of Fame, in North Dakota, but they were never able to get the project going for political or whatever reasons, and so I consider myself lucky.
I remember we made a conscious decision to not include the federal government, do it ourselves.
That was a big deal. That was Senator Hoeven, then Governor Hoeven.
Commissioner Flacco.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention former Senator Tom Fisher.
Yeah.
And I always like to leave people with this, that he'd always comment that the Red River Valley is the only place where you can be up to your knees in mud and have dust blowing in your face.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
Any other questions? Thank you for making the trip over.
Thank you.
Very informative. Thank you. Item 2 under regular agenda, Mr. Wilson, tax incentive policy.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you very much. This has been something that I've worked with the chair on to develop a draft of a updated tax incentive policy. Because this is the first time that some of you are seeing this, or when the packet was released last week, it's intended that this is really for informational today. Ask questions, discuss what's in it, what's not in it, what you'd like to see in it perhaps, and then bring it back at the next meeting on October 20th for action. So that's our, just the way that we do business, and not getting into the position of serial meetings. That's why this hasn't been, wasn't distributed prior to what you would have seen in the packet that went out at the end of last week. There are really 4 main points of this. We tried to be much simpler than our current policy. Current policy is 5 pages. This is down to a single page, and really emphasizes 4 points. Primary sector incentives, incentive requests will generally be supported as submitted. Policy will encourage non-primary sector projects submitted by municipalities to not exceed 5 years with 100% abatement. It is recognizing that the region has a serious shortage of low-income housing. The policy will support federally sponsored low and moderate income housing incentives, and then tax increment financing and payment in lieu of taxes applications not otherwise identified in other sections of this policy would generally be considered at half of the requested amount. And obviously, incentives take on perhaps a different light as you consider them now with in light of property tax caps that you are dealing with in budgetary matters, and may cause you to want just to take a closer look at incentives that you consider granting, approving. So stand by for any questions. I would imagine that Commissioner opened any additional comments you have, but again, the plan would be to hear your feedback, your comments today, and then we would look to schedule this as an action item for the meeting on October 20th.
Questions for Robert? Some comments from my perspective. I think, Commissioners, you recall we've been talking about incentives and property tax caps since the legislature started in January. Floated the idea around that if we are capped, how does the county preserve and yet provide incentives for growth, which is important because we do get new growth. We echoed some of that during the legislative session. We had a brown bag in July to have a discussion on incentives, their use. So it's kind of a result of those meetings and feedback that felt we should put some type of proposal together, revise our policy, and support incentives, but yet be realistic in the revenue side of Cass County. And for those that are sitting in the audience, 100% of county government is funded by property tax, which is different in city government, for example, where City of Fargo, about a third of their revenue comes from property tax. The majority comes from other means, and we don't have that luxury in a county. So when we give up a tax incentive, we lose revenue for a period of time. So what Robert has explained then is under the traditional incentive programs outlined in the North Dakota legislature for economic development, primary sector designated, factoring in that in my 3 years, there's only been one primary sector application that's come from the Economic Development Office, that there really isn't a surge, if you will, of implications. And so to honor the integrity of primary sector, nothing changes. The second, which City of Fargo has echoed numerous times, is the need for affordable housing. And with the intricacies of the federal tax credits and how low-income financing and low-income housing programs typically require 17 years for the investors to receive their full benefit by investing in low-income housing, is that's important to the City of Fargo and City of West Fargo. So nothing changes there from, at least from a policy perspective, to support low-income housing. The major changes, as I guess I would describe it, is in TIFs and pilots. And in essence, it just says that Cass County, if we adopt this version, is willing to participate, but at 50% for 5 years. And so in hopes that developers wouldn't be coming to us asking for 10 or 15 years of property tax at 100%, recognizing that our revenue and the property tax bills that you pay is about 17% that comes to the county, that we would be willing to support 50% for 5 years, is basically what the revised policy says. So those are kind of my remarks anyway, as far as how do we go forward, still being supportive, but yet cautious as far as our revenue collections, which have been more common than not, the TIFs and the pilots that come before us. So that would be my view or my perspectives on where we're at today. So, as Robert said, any other ideas or suggestions, please get those to him as we go between today and 2 weeks from now. But it's, my opinion that we need to tighten it up a little bit and then send a message that if you're going to come to the county, at least with TIFs and pilots, that's what our policy is. Commissioner Flacco?
Mr. Chairman, I guess 2 points of discussion or consideration is I wish we could figure out a process by where we could get these earlier in the process, because we had one some time back where they were well on their way to completing it, and I wish we would have a chance to do that much earlier in that process so they know where they're at, because literally they, in this case, they had all the sidewalls up in 6 days, and not all, but I mean most of the sidewall on the ground floor up within 6 days, and I just wish we were earlier in the project so they know where they're at, we know where we're at, and it provides a status for them. And then the other thing is, should it be transferable? So if it's pick a number, 7-year deal and they sell it after 5 years because they're at 100% and they want to flip it after that, which happens, should that automatically transfer, or should they, the new owners, have to come before us again to get approval on the remaining portion of whatever we've done? So that I would like, some thought about that as you move forward too, Mr. Chairman.
Wilson, have you noted that?
Indeed, I have.
Further comments, suggestions? Commissioner Breitling?
I've noticed that we have an item on the agenda today. Unless I've read that material incorrectly, they are asking for a 100% for 5 years and 50% for 6 through 10 years. And I want to point out that that's not at least consistent with the proposal that we've heard today. The problem that I have with that is that if we don't do something with that today, by the time we meet on the 20th, the 30 days will come and gone, and we will have, by default, approved that request.
Commissioner Breitling, you're accurate in your assessment. When the draft agenda came today, I felt it was important that we have the introduction of the incentive policy first, recognizing it's not adopted today, but at least there's a discussion around it, and whatever the actions the commission takes today is the actions that currently exist, I guess, is without having official document. But I don't think it's fair for us to, have passed this and then go into that without at least 2 weeks to think this through. So I understand exactly where you're coming from. I guess next agenda item is really up to the wishes of the commission. But I think the intent's pretty clear on what we're trying to do with the draft before us on item 2 on the agenda. Any other comments, suggestions? Hearing none, then, Robert, you've got a couple takeaways here to continue to work on this, and commissioners, if you have other thoughts that come to your mind in the coming days, please make sure they are vetted or provided to Mr. Wilson for vetting on the 20th of October. Item 3, Bison Lodge pilot request. Mr. Gilmore.
Thank you. This is a request from Bison Lodge or Bison Run Rentals for a property tax exemption for a new housing project out in the Roosevelt neighborhood at NDSU. And I understand the confusion on the number of years here because the city just shifted policy. These projects, the city had traditionally provided a 100% exemption for 5 years, followed by a 50% exemption for 5 years. The policy has been changed now, so the maximum is 7 years, but it's at 100% level. The reason for the change was it just was very difficult for the city assessor to kind of keep track of all these changes in number of years, and so they asked us, can you just keep it the same for whatever period? And so by shortening it to 7 years, that's equal to basically present values equal 7 years versus the 5 and 5. So that's what was approved by the city commission. Both that new policy and the city commission had approved this application a week ago. I do want to respond briefly to Commissioner Flacco's comments. The city would love to give you early notice of this, but in the past, or the past commission said, we don't want to act until the city commission is acted. It would actually work better for the developer in the city if you would make up your mind, ahead of the city commission, then the developer would know earlier on, how the city, response would be. So, but you can discuss that with
I don't want to speak
your
for Commissioner
policy.
Flacco, but I think where he's coming from is a project we approved here a few months ago, came to us and approved, and there was precast being delivered the next day. I think the point he was trying to make is that these applications are approved and vetted well before a construction date starts. I think that's where he was coming from. I don't want to speak for
that
him.
was certainly a leap of faith by that developer that you were going to approve it, and
Well,
the city would approve it.
It's a leap of faith, but
City
it's
can move
also,
up their process.
yeah, it's also,
So, abide by they go first and then we would go, but I just think if we could move up the city, it would be beneficial because clearly they didn't, anyway.
Maybe we can get up this slide, and you can go ahead and flip through these fairly fast. This is the site on the corner of 11th Avenue North and 17th Street. It's a very rundown house that would be demolished, and then also there's a vacant lot. I should note that the owners weren't the ones that owned it when it became in this condition. They very recently acquired the property with the intention of doing its development. So they weren't the ones that let this house get to this condition. They simply want to recognize that the only way to recover or get something built here is.
Commissioner Flacco has a question.
Did they acquire it from the seller, or did it go through, because we have a packet of information here with, where it was turned over to the municipalities because they hadn't paid their taxes? Did they get it through that, or how did they obtain it?
I believe they purchased it from the previous owner, but they're here and they can answer that question
Okay,
when they
thank
come
you.
forward. This fits with the city's plan for this area to try to get more higher density housing, more multifamily housing. This fits with both the core neighborhood plan and the University Mixed Use Zoning District that this was zoned. Maybe go towards the end, all the way to the end. There's some pictures of what the new row house would be. It would be kind of a 6-unit row house in the neighborhood. That developers manage property in the area, and so they have a feel they have a good sense for what the housing market is. The city commission approved this, again, on Monday, the vote was 5-0. They'd really like to see this developed. There's a financial review that was done. That financial review found that even with the incentive, the rate of return for them is about 8.8%. Generally, people won't get involved with this unless they're in the 10 to 15% range, and so they're kind of going at this, looking at a long-term hold, and hopefully they'll recover that 8% investment. If you don't have any questions for me, I'll have the developers come up, and they can better than me give you their vision for the development.
Appreciate that, and not to get split hairs and get into the details, but you certainly could run a scenario without counting it 50%. Be anxious or curious to how that would look. And a project like this, I mean, we'll find out the total capital cost. What would the city net in fees that the county wouldn't receive any?
They paid a several $1,000 application fee, but we use that for the financial review. There's no real fee on this one like there is on the TIFs, because we've simplified the administration. We don't need that fee anymore.
Building permits and everything is not substantial?
Well, they'll get building permits, of course. That's sort of pay as you go. I mean, we don't make make money on building permits. We have costs involved there. And some of the larger permits we make.
City does gain revenue though from it.
We do have revenue from it. We also have costs.
For those in the audience, Jim and I go back a long time. We like to spar a little bit, so I apologize. Thank you, Jim.
Okay. Fine. Thank you, Betsy. You want to come up? Any other questions for me?
Questions for Jim? Thank you.
Good afternoon. Hi. So to go back to that question, did we acquire the property? Yes. It was from a broker that I know, and we're just, like Jim said, we kind of do rentals in the area. So this is kind of our first development. Scary times, it's a big deal, but we see this area a lot, and what's there now, we just think we could kind of start changing the neighborhoods a little bit, making a more safe, modern place for students, for anybody really, so but it's just in that NDSU area, so that's why we see students a lot.
Yeah, we manage the group of townhomes directly behind this property, and we've been looking at this lot for 5 years and thought, gosh, somebody should develop that area. It's such a wonderful spot. And it just so happened that one of his friends in the real estate world owned the land and offered for us to buy it. So we know the numbers are tight, but it's a long-term hold. And the money that we got to buy the property came from my parents. So they do property in the cities, and we're a family business, so they're kind of supporting us and ushering us through. But this pilot program really is essential to making this project feasible for us. Mm-hmm. So that's why we came to the city to approve the pilot program, and they generously have. So that's why we come to you to also support it as well.
Commissioner Flacco?
Mr. Chairman, and help me, so there's the empty lot, which is part of this, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And on the southeast corner, there's the house with kind of an illegible number, we'll call it, that's grayish. That would be part of this?
So it's kind of a boot-shaped lot. It goes long.
So it's going to be an inverted L. So right on the corner where that empty lot is, that's the bottom part, and then there's
on the street side.
And then right to the north of that's that house that we
the gray one.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then that
So it'll be
guy
a
goes
back L.
through. Mm-hmm. So there's gonna be the row of townhomes are on the street side, and then there's some parking on the edge, and then behind the property on the alleyway will also be parking.
It's not 1116, or that maroonish colored house.
There's a gray house that they're not acquiring.
No.
Oh.
11th Avenue.
Yeah. We've been in contact with
the owner.
and
He's not interested in selling, but there was some things with the fence line. So we've been in chat with him. He lives in California. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Further questions? Commissioners, what are your wishes?
Is that house that you don't own, is that being lived in now?
Yes.
So, yeah, so that one is a rental currently. Mm-hmm.
The owner said that he bought it because he wants to come to Fargo to retire, and he currently lives in California. So we'll see if he makes it back to retire.
Yeah,
but
we'll see if this is the area he wants to be, but, you know, we talked about the project, and he's very excited about it.
to
and-
see the project kind of go through.
You better come before you decide to condemn it.
I don't know, we thought about, well, you know, maybe we could rehab it, but looking at it, no.
Yeah, this house,
It's pretty bad.
it's pretty far gone.
Yeah,
When we bought the property, the owner didn't even have keys to it.
yeah, so I had to
It's that-
unscrew the window and climb on in, so that was pretty fun too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, guys.
Commissioner Flacco?
While everybody's thinking here, can I just add one more to the list while everybody's, because this is somewhat topical. It would also be good if we had, as part of that, there seems to be a little bit of difference in when the starting date is for whatever breaks there are. We've had different ones that we've came across, so, you know, maybe it's when they gain an occupancy permit or something, so it's really very consistent, because right now, it's not consistent. History would tell us that.
I think that TIFs can be inconsistent because it depends on when the city freezes the taxes.
Yeah.
The pilots are consistent, that exemption does not start until the tax year after they open. So if they, you know, finish January 15th, it'll start that next year on February 1st. If they don't get done till March, then it won't start until the following tax year. So a lot of times they have to pay property taxes on a half-built project, and then it starts. So it's very consistent on the pilot.
I was just stalling. Everybody thinks.
As I understood Mr. Miller's presentation, the city has approved a 7-year, 100%,
Yes,
and nothing beyond that.
correct.
I would move that the county approve a 5-year for 100%.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Before I call the roll, I'll just offer that I will support this motion, knowing that we're going to updated policy in 2 weeks. I know that this incentive discussion, at least in county government, is going on all across the state. I visited with leaders in Bismarck as well as Minot, and what we're discussing here is not new to Cass County or the only issue from a standpoint of what the legislature did with property tax caps. And so I will support this as a direction and a decision in the right direction, at least protecting the county resources, at the same time providing an incentive for development. So just thought I'd make that known. Any other comments? We'll take the roll.
Commissioner Capitan,
Aye.
Commissioner Grinberg, Commissioner Flacco,
No.
Commissioner Breitling,
Yes.
Commissioner Vettel.
Aye.
Item 4, approve minimum sales tax price on tax forfeited properties. Sarah Heinley.
Chairman, Commissioners, in your packet was included a list of 85 properties that were currently 3 years delinquent and should be put on our tax sale list. This list was created as of 9/29, so there was a slight variance between when they had to pay versus when it actually was created on the list. We do have several payments that are in the process of being processed, so we would like you to keep the list at the 85 properties, but be aware that that will shortly reduce, we're thinking, to 25 properties with 15 of them being residential homes and 10 being just vacant lots. We're going to continue to take action on these properties by reaching out to each individual homeowner. We send out a post-take letter, which includes what their options are and contact phone numbers to reach us. We also reach out via phone to try to get these gentlemen and ladies to pay. We also will put notices on their doors at first week in November in hopes that we can take one-ditch effort to get these people to pay their taxes before we have to take their homes. What we're asking you to do today is approve the sales list for the 85 properties and set the hearing.
Questions or a motion for Sarah?
Motion to approve?
Second? Discussion? Everybody understand the motion and the request? We'll take the roll.
Commissioner Vettel,
Aye.
Commissioner Grinberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Capitan.
Aye.
Commissioner Flacco. Commissioner Brightling.
Yes.
Al, you're up next too. First one, item 5, a letter of support for Casselton truck bypass and traffic study.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. If you recall, back in July, we had a road advisory committee meeting, and Bill Hale, along with the city of Casselton, came to our attention to talk over this matter about getting a traffic study done on State Highway 18 from our County Road 10 to Interstate 94, as well as looking at getting our loop of County Road 23 and County Road 10 as a state bypass route, and additional signage to follow. Comments from that meeting were to basically set it up more as a request to the DOT as far as the bypass route. And they did follow through with that, and I did receive a letter early September laying out those requests and a letter of support. And I have attached the letter I received as well as a draft letter of support. I guess my first question is to the board here is, would we like to send out just one letter from the commission, or do we want to send a letter of support from the commission as well as the highway department as well as the sheriff's department, if it is approved?
Pivot that question to the administrator and see what his opinion is, and then maybe if one of the commissioners has a...
Because if I understand it right, everybody received a copy of this. Okay.
The information is in the packet.
No, I understand
yeah.
that, but as far as the original letter, as far as a request for a letter of support.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, we had this very conversation within the admin office, and the situation is that this very much did come before the road advisory committee at that point, and the committee, I would characterize it as supported it without hesitation. And then the follow-up request was for support from Highway Department, the Commission, and the Sheriff's Office. Sounded a bit like a belt and suspenders approach, probably doesn't hurt anything. The sheriff, as an elected official, is in a little more of a unique position to speak on his own to support that. In Mr. Litchie's appointed role, I advised that he would probably be well served to bring that to the board, and then likewise you as a board can make your own decision. So I think you could go a number of different ways here. I don't think there's a wrong option, but they made a request of individual letters of support from the Highway Department, the Sheriff's Office, and the Commission. So I think it's really at your discretion of how you would like to approach this.
Let me throw out a suggestion, Commissioner Breitling, because you have the portfolio. I would suggest that it's a commission letter signed by you as portfolio to the Highway Department to cover
That should be sufficient.
the Highway Department and the commission.
I believe so.
and then the sheriff can do his thing. Do we need a motion to that, or just do it?
You could do, you're chairman, you can do whatever you want.
It was kind of awkward making a
Chairman.
motion to that. Commissioner Flacco?
You know, again, noting what we've heard before about how this not only provides safety for the plant that's out there that we need to make sure because of changing environments, but also citizens who have been asking about it in terms of, you know, the safety with respect to getting in and out of those areas with a car or motorcycle or whatever. So I would move the suggested recommended amendment with the caveats as stated with Commissioner Brightling.
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Hearing none, we'll take the roll call vote.
Commissioner Brightling.
Yes.
Commissioner Vettel.
Aye.
Commissioner Grinberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Capitan.
Aye.
Commissioner Flacco.
Aye.
Item 6, purchase 2 tandem axle trucks.
Yes, Mr. Chair and members of the board, we recently got a contract back from Sourcewell for 2 tandem axle truck bids that we had got approved during the 2026 budget. And actually during the March commission meeting, we were approved to get the accessories to those same trucks in the sum of $389,000 and change, and then the Sourcewell contracts for the 2 trucks were the $305,000 and change for a total of just under $700,000, and we had $715,000 in the line item for that heavy equipment line item.
Questions for Kyle?
Well, we're probably $20,000 under budget.
Yes.
I felt given the size of it, should at least have a commission review. We generally don't put 700,000 plus items on consent. At least
I guess I would add, this is the first time we've gone through Sourcewell. It is a newer type nationwide system to find bids for this type of equipment to streamline the process to get equipment faster and cheaper.
which is budgeted, so.
Correct.
Is there a motion or further questions?
Move to approve.
Commissioner Bettel?
Move to approve purchase.
Commissioner Bettel moves, Commissioner Captan seconds. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the roll.
Commissioner Vettel.
Aye.
Commissioner Grinberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Capitan.
Aye.
Commissioner Flacco.
Aye.
Commissioner Brightling.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilson, number 7.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, you'll recall that on August 18th, the commission reviewed 3 different proposals for architectural services related to following up and developing building plans and construction administration for work building off of the space needs study that was completed just before that. At that time, you identified JLG Architects as the preferred bidder and directed staff to negotiate an agreement. We have before you an agreement for your consideration this afternoon. A couple of points that I would bring to your attention. There were 2 points that you directly asked us to follow up on as we entered into that negotiation. JLG's proposed rate with their submission was 7.45% of total construction cost, and they were not the low bidder. There was another bidder that submitted a price of 6.75% of total construction cost. There were a number of reasons at that time that were discussed where JLG showed themselves to be the best architect for the job in this circumstance, and that was discussed in length, and you had very legitimate questions at that point. Based on the negotiations that have happened since that time, the contract before you contemplates a rate of 7%, a flat 7%. You also had a number of questions and directed my office and the state's attorney's office to look at different formats of a architectural agreement because we've had some lessons learned on a previous project, quite frankly, and the state's attorney's office. Specifically, I would point out Senior Attorney Kate Nauman put a significant amount of research into variety of different construction contracts, architect contracts. How does an owner best protect themselves and best advocate for the project that they want to deliver? And thanks to Kate's work and Kim's work, I think we have a product here that really reflects that direction. I would say they really left no stone unturned in how we can set ourselves up in the best position. So that is the agreement that is here for your consideration today. Those were the 2 points that you directed us to follow up on before we brought a proposal back to you. And I believe having completed those tasks, we have a proposed agreement here for your consideration this afternoon, and I stand by for your questions.
Questions for Robert? Everybody recall Commissioner Flacco?
We have the AIA agreement in here. Was there any changes that we brought to them that they're going to modify it? We've had some discussions about AIA contracts.
What is in your packet here is a final product. There were probably 2 or 3 generations of initial draft back and forth, and I would just say we were represented very capably in those negotiations, and I think we what came. This is the product of that work.
You recall the scope of work that we're moving forward on? That being IT space, rework of the state's attorney's office for a more efficient work environment, and moving human services into a much more external facing client services on the main floor of the annex are the 3 big areas.
As I understand the language, the architect is also considering the restoration of the Johnson building?
Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Breitling, that I did note that is referenced in a cover page there. The bulk of the contents that are directly spoken to in the scope of work are the IT space, the state's attorney space, the reorganized first floor of the annex building, and then those main portions. But you are correct. There was a summary reference to that, and I would look to Kate if there was any, or Kim if there was anything else you wanted to say to that point.
Said another way, there is no planned work for the Johnson building at this time.
That's not how I read that contract.
Mr. Wilson?
That is not contemplated in our understanding of this, and I would, and from my conversations with JLG, that is not contemplated in this scope.
Commissioner Flacco?
Mr. Chairman, first, thanks to those who negotiated a notably better price on this. That pushing that back was well worth the effort. And I would move to authorize the chair to sign the attached agreement with JLG Architects for Cass County Courthouse and Annex renovations.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the roll.
Commissioner Capitan,
Aye.
Commissioner Vettel,
Aye.
Commissioner Grinberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Flacco,
Aye.
Commissioner Brightling.
No.
Item 8, appoint delegate to the North Dakota Association of Counties annual meeting. Commissioners?
Would move to appoint Commissioner Capitan.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries. Commissioner
One
Capitan?
caveat to that, I've been on this for, I think, the past 3 or 4 years, and every year, we've had a first significant storm where they've closed the interstate, and I couldn't attend any of them yet. So hopefully, there's no storm this year.
Very good campaign speech.
And wooden knock on it. Item 9, Mr. Commissioner Vettel. Vouchers.
We'll move that we accept all of the vouchers for this month. I've reviewed and I'm comfortable doing so.
Discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the roll.
Commissioner Brightling,
Yes.
Commissioner Vettel,
Aye.
Commissioner Grinberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Capitan,
Aye.
Commissioner Flacco.
Aye.
Committee reports. Kyle, do you want to lead off?
Sure.
We're going to do public comment next, for those that have been waiting patiently.
Just wanted to pass this out real quick. So yeah, I wanted to come up here. Thank you for allowing me to come up during these, during this to just give a few updates on some things. First, back middle, early summer, we had some pretty bad crashes on State 18 at the intersections of County Road 26 and County Road 4. And I just received a call middle of last week from Aaron Murrah, the Fargo district engineer for the DOT. And this is kind of what we're hoping fixes the issues that we've been having. Up in the top left, you can see the stoplight. This is just Google Images, but this is what will be happening. I don't necessarily have a timetable on when it's going to happen, but it will be happening. So you can see the stoplight has the LED lights flashing. They're also going to be adding the cross traffic does not stop signage to both sides on the county roads. And they will also be adding the intersection sign to the north and south of these intersections. And then as far as what we could do on our part is the advanced stop signs up in the upper right. We upsize those and move them back about 400 feet. And those already did have flashing, but we'll be replacing those with the flashing as well. So by doing all of that, and then we also typically we just have our rumble strips in the wheel path. So now we have it full width and 3 sets of those coming up to every intersection. So I guess I thought I'd just give that update because it was a pretty pressing topic here early on. So if there's any questions with that.
Kyle?
And then my other update is with the 31 bridge. Good and bad news with that. Good news is we were originally thinking that the bridge may need to be like 800 feet long. It's 450 feet long right now, but soil tests came back where we're only going to be looking at about 550 feet, which is great. However, structural foot cost for a bridge of this nature is significantly higher. So we're still looking at that around $9 million bridge, which is how we have it budgeted in our budget. So we're still on track for a June or July bid date of 26. So we have half of it slated for 26 payment, and then the other half will be budgeted in 27.
So the start date of
I'm hoping like October.
next year?
Yep.
Okay, questions for Kyle? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
State's Attorney.
First I've attended, most of my staff has attended, I think a lot of the county staff has attended. Very useful information, and it has sparked conversation in my office certainly, so I would guess it has across departments, so thank you for doing that. My office, a lot of my frontline staff gets calls on a pretty regular basis from people who are in crisis state when they're calling. It's been impacting how my staff feels, and so a couple of them took the initiative. They arranged a crisis intervention training. The village put it on for my staff last week. And again, it was very useful information, and I'm proud of my staff for recognizing when they need that sort of information. That's what I've got.
Thank you, Commissioner Captain.
Nothing to report.
Michael?
Well, the only thing, and maybe you've heard it before, earlier today, it was announced that the June 20th tornado in the Enderlin area was moved up from an EF3 to an EF5 with winds in excess of 210 miles an hour. And it just gives me pause again to thank all those who really served admirably during and after that tornado. I see Sheriff Johners here, and I would ask, thank him, but also thank all his officers. I know they were, really working a lot of hours and doing a great job in terms of trying to make the best of a horrific situation. So thanks to everybody who did that. But yeah, it's a EF5, which again is the highest you can go.
Finance?
No report.
Commissioner Vettel? None. Commissioner Breitling?
No additional report.
Commissioner Wilson? Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Chair, three brief updates. This Thursday on the 9th, the North Dakota Association of Counties Region 5 caucus meeting will be held here in the commission chambers in advance of our state annual convention later this month in Bismarck. On Tuesday the 14th next week, we will have a punch list meeting for the new courtroom directly above us. So this is one that, proud to say that this has been a project that has moved forward very swiftly, very efficiently, and I think I know the courts are ready to start utilizing and scheduling that courtroom and get to use it right away. And then with your approval of the JLG agreement moving forward and getting that project going very quickly, I anticipate that we will start scheduling monthly meetings of the building committee moving forward, because we will have sort of a tight group that is working directly with the architects and giving direction that they need as individual questions come up. But we will use that building committee format to really provide ongoing updates, timely updates to the commission and the department head group through the course of the project. That concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll next move to item 11, public comment. On July 7th of this year, after legislative action during this year's legislative session, Cass County, along with many other local political subdivisions in North Dakota, updated a policy for public comment. One of those key items is registration prior. So I'm going to open up public comment now, and we have three people that have expressed interest: Cindy Simmer, Jill Mell, and Christopher Cohn. So we are going to use the 3-minute rule, but we're not going to have a light or a buzzer or flashing things that go off at 3 minutes. I'm a believer that you have every right to express yourself, but we're going to align with the 3-minute rule on our policy. So unlike the city of Fargo, when you're speaking, when you're 3 minutes up, the microphone goes off and there's a light that goes off. That isn't going to happen here. But work with me, as chair, with that 3 minutes in your mind as you come to the podium to provide your feedback and thoughts, and will be taken by all commissioners. And I know one group was here 2 weeks ago, and I'm anxious to hear from them again. So, Cindy? And again, for those in the audience, thank you for your patience. And this is one of the county commission meetings that will go an hour and a half. Generally, they go about an hour. So.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Cindy Simmer, just a North Side resident, and I was here a few weeks ago. I came to beg, borrow, but not steal. We're looking at funding for our North Side Senior Citizen Center. But today I start with an apology, because there were 4 or 5 of us that saw a copy of a letter that said, you folks had asked the leader of Valley Senior Services to come forward and present his budget. This was music to our ears. At home, I did a polka because I was so happy. We need to know the funding on this. I called this morning. I got okayed to come speak. She asked me what agenda item. I let her know the Valley Senior Services budget. She said, okay. And then all of us, I'm apologizing to all my friends too, we all get here and Mr. Greenberg says he's not on the agenda. So I'm not quite sure where that erroneous information came from, but I'm going to find out because I'm wasting your time and our time. And many folks in this short amount of time from last Thursday have written letters to give to you folks why they think the center should be open. And so in good faith effort, I would hope that you would accept them, if nothing else more for reading and to understand just the quandary that we're in as consumers. I won't talk much because I'm gonna let Jill go at it, but my job is to look into the financing. And since the last time here, I have found out that there's about 5 funding sources that we are be able to tap into for our rent. And I'm hoping that we can look in, none of which are you involved, so don't have to worry about it. But there's a few places that we can look at that have never been mentioned for our $107,000 a year rental for the continued property at Broadway Station, 15th and Broadway. So I don't need to say anything else. It's a vibrant community. I hope you all had a chance to look at the editorial by one of our pretty active members, Mike Rakow. He did a really nice job of really just, he can be a little, Mr. Flacco, don't. He can be a little spirited at times. That's how us Irish say it, I think. He did a very factual piece, and if you haven't had a chance to read it, it was in Saturday's paper. But we're not giving up. In lieu of everybody being a detective, we're asking ourselves, what other group of people is the park board asking to downsize? We're at a beautiful facility with windows, with a lot of air, with a lot of room, with tables that fit our activities. We are being asked to move into an internal room with no windows. It looks like a lunchroom. I don't know where you'd fit 10 tables of pinochle. Let's be real. This is the deciding factor. So again, I'm just saying, what other group is asking to do this? I had a lady that stopped me just before I left. She was one of the editors for the High Point newspaper. High
Plains Reader.
High Plains Reader. Thank you. I don't read it. Can you tell? She had said that her studies is on the trends of older folks. It's gonna just balloon in the next few years. So she's gonna become active. May I approach you?
You can leave those with Mr.
Yes,
Wilson.
I will.
Over here.
Mr. Wilson. Thank you.
Thank you. Jill?
Thank you.
And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Is it Mel?
Mel, yes, it is. Thank you for having us here today. I'm just here to just advocate for the seniors at the Broadway Station. It is such an important place because a lot of people come there and they're in their 90s or in their 80s, I'm sorry. I just get very emotional because I really believe that seniors are being pushed aside and treated as third-class citizens, and we shouldn't be doing that because we have worked hard all our lives and finally we have a place that's very bright, It's a facility that's being used all the time, and these people need a place to go where they're not going to go into a cave and not be able to see the light, because the day is coming where the cassette will close and we won't have a place. I mean, we're gone. But in the meantime, we need to respect the seniors. We need to give them value, and coming to the Broadway station has given them such value, a place that they can look at, a place where they can fellowship, a place where it's a community. And I think it's very important in these last days of their lives that they have a place to go, that they can feel valued. But right now we're being told we're going to go to this other place, like she said, has no windows. It's hard to get to. The parking is terrible, and they have another place, Younger Farm, that is so chopped up. It's not even a place that's good for them to be at. It's not, the parking is horrible, but where we're at right now is perfect. There's windows, the parking is easy to get to, and I think it's just, we need to advocate for the seniors on the north side. Everything is going to the south, but nothing is going to the north. So I'm just asking you to just think on these things for the seniors, because there's some seniors here. And I'm a senior, and I would probably be at the senior center if it wasn't for my parents who are in their 90s, and I take them there, and now I'm getting involved. And like I said, it is a community, and it's worth a lot of value. So thank you.
Technically, you're right, at least 4 of the 5.
I wasn't pointing at anybody.
All right, next, is it Mr. Cohen? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes.
Welcome.
Or you could pronounce it Cohen or
Cohen, okay.
Kuhn from the old world, when they had 2 umlauts over the O. But I came today to talk about the data center issue. And there's a big concern out in the public that the public is not being allowed to voice concerns and is not being allowed to influence the decisions. So I'm concerned about the state government and local government units that are not talking to residents and the people. And one of the biggest concerns is electricity. So electricity is going up. People are already worried about that, and is expected to go up even more due to the one big beautiful bill, also known as the ugly bill. And in Bloomberg News came out with an investigation on September 19th that's saying that around these data centers that electricity is expected to go up, wholesale prices 267% in 5 years. And with regard to what I'd like the county to do is to consider taxes, because the property taxes are capped, and there's cost to the county for these centers coming in, and also placement of where these are going. There's not really any kind of a good placement. They should go into certain industrial zones, and we should consider keeping them away from residential areas due to the noise. They're very noisy, and also keep them away from environmentally sensitive areas. In addition, also, having public hearings to find out what people are thinking about this. And mitigation efforts. You could do mitigation efforts for noise abatement and so forth. Those have to be thought of. And also state legislation, so the counties can advocate with the state for legislation, because what we know now is that the state has very lax business regulations. And so we're really not being protected in a lot of ways. This is kind of a laissez-faire industry, and there's a lot of speculation, a lot of hype around AI and these data centers, and it's coming in strong. And the population is not necessarily with this, in agreement with it, and has not been consulted. And that's really a problem. People feel disrespected, and they're worried about it, especially with the electricity prices. And, there needs to be more discussion on that. And also, I'm thinking about, co-locating the power production with these data centers. So, and really, we need to focus on clean energy. So, wind and solar power needs to be thought of more for co-locating it where these data centers are being put, and there's other planning efforts that can be made. And in terms of taxes, you can also tax data center computers and related equipment, and also consider where the wind pollution will go from the diesel generators. When there's power outages, these plants must be powered with from diesel generators, because they have to maintain power. Those are very dirty, and so you don't want these near residential areas or other sensitive areas. And also during the construction process, I don't know, what is it, 3 years or so, it's going to be powered by diesel generators. So that has to be considered more. Thank you.
Thank you. Your motion to adjourn?
Second.
Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
I have one question of senior citizens, of which I am one. How much does a set cost you in Pinnacle?